excited to have Mark Mullett and Ashley Mills. Did I mess it up?
No, he said that he
No, he
hates
said
that more than
Mullett.
mullet.
He said Mullett.
This is what you did.
No, but you
'Cause
know what? That was top of mind. That's what your
That
brain
is
went to. It's
exactly
all
what I
good.
heard.
Rebranding, Mo.
Mullett.
Rebranding.
Mullett, which I got right the first time. And then,
Sorry.
okay, I'm introducing Mark
It's all good.
Mullett and Ashley Mills. They are not a married couple.
Even
but
though they have that marital tension between
Although we
the
play
two.
one on
You
TV.
do play one on TV, but they are the co-founders of Obey Fitness.
Right.
And we're excited to have you on. Your first time on Lifts, right?
Yeah.
Have you
The
been
first
on
time.
before?
No.
No, okay.
I
first time.
am a listener, but never had the opportunity. So excited to be here. Thank you guys for having us.
No, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you very much. So where do we start? Well, I think where we should start is a fantastic. Yesterday evening, you had a beautiful event, and we'd like to thank you for inviting us over there. And we had some really interesting conversations. And one of the things that sort of came up as I was sort of, eating some lovely food that you was handing out was this women's health. That was a big subject from many different areas. So I thought I'd sort of ask you a little bit about how that relates into your business. What you're seeing, and why a lot of people feel that this subject is kind of many years behind probably where it should be.
Sure, that's a big question and a good question. And hopefully there's lots of men watching. And so if they don't know this stuff already, we can educate them. So, when it comes to exercise science, most of the research is done on men. Men's bodies are easier to understand. They don't have a cycle that's like, every day over a 28-day period, their bodies are different. And there was a really, really incredible book called Invisible Women about basically like how women are underserved and because they're not focused on. And it's everything from, when you look at drugs getting approved by the FDA, or the way that cars are built, like they're not built for a pregnant belly or breasts. Like all of this stuff is very real. So I think that women have started to understand more about this, and especially like the Gen Z audience. And it's great because it's starting to like really infiltrate culture. And we're seeing it on the fitness side, and it's something that I'm super passionate about. And we've developed Obey, and continue to think about how our product is going to evolve to really embrace women and help them to build body literacy. And so,
Body literacy.
Body literacy.
Is that a new word?
I read it in something unrelated to what we do, but I just felt
It's
like
ours.
it's sure it's
TM, little R, it's ours. So
I think it's a brilliant way of thinking about it because, we as women, like our bodies are not the same, right? It's not that like every single woman's body is the same, but there are parts of our physiology that, obviously across women are the same. And we have to really understand how our bodies shift and change. And again, that's going to be different for every woman. So an example of how we built a feature around it. We built a cycle tracking feature. There's lots of ways that you can track a period. But the goal was not about fertility, which is how most people track, but instead to use this as an opportunity to teach people about their hormone health, about how it affects their performance. So on your ovulation day, that's like your PR day. And towards the end of the month, you might find that you're like, it's harder to lift the weights that used to be really easy in different parts of the cycle. So there's also, there's this like, women have this idea that like you need to work out 5 days a week for, an hour every time. And like, we know that that's not the case. And so by creating these experiences for women, we can teach them. So we can say like, give them permission to listen to their bodies and understand really what's going on. So that's been a really important piece. We've also developed lots of content and collections around PCOS, around fertility, around prenatal and postnatal. When you have a baby, as you all probably know from seeing people in your lives that have had babies, it is the most physical experience, like it's the most intense physical experience of your entire life. And for the most part, the recommendations are, that you should, do this like gentle yoga, whatever, but it's not like a real workout. If you're someone who's used to working out, like you should continue to work out during that period because you want to make sure that like you're going to recover well. When that baby wakes up at 3 a.m, you're going to want to pick up that baby and you're not going to want to have back pain. Like there's a lot of, there's so much value in exercise. And so, what we're really doing is helping women to understand that you can have exercise and movement in all of these different parts of your life. And you should really listen to your body and let sort of your body and that body literacy, like let that start to infiltrate how you move about your life and about your day throughout all of the different seasons.
And so you founded Obey, you both co-founded Obey in 2018. I'm sure the rise of Peloton, digital fitness, influenced some of that. You both have agency-based backgrounds coming from CAA. I think a lot of people first think about Obey because you grew so much during the pandemic, which I want to get to in a minute. But what led to that like founding moment in 2018? And were you always focused on women's health?
Yeah, founding Obey was far less about other competitors and household names in the category now, and in fact, it didn't really play a role at all. The reason we founded Obey, simply put, was we both loved to work out with great instructors, great people, great experiences, and we really, really loved bringing great experiences to large groups of people. So you referenced the agency background. Ashley and I met at a agency called CAA, an incredible company in the entertainment space, and we worked in TV, traditional TV. Now, TV changed over time. We went from selling shows and building household names across Bravo and Food Network and HGTV, and that transitioned into businesses across, Amazon Prime and Netflix and Hulu, and the list goes on. We wanted to take that same skill set, though, and create great fitness experiences with great instructors and disseminate it across audiences who maybe didn't live in New York with, let's say, a Soul Cycle around the corner or a Barry's Boot Camp around the corner in the way that we had been working out. So that at the core was about bringing great fitness experiences to audiences across North America, across the world. The female piece is really important for two reasons. The first and foremost is what Ashley just described. She's underserved. She has not been spoken to in a way that is direct, personal, and physiologically accurate as it relates to strength training, fitness, etc. The other thing is we love that audience. We are that audience. We know that audience. That audience is not only us, it's our families, it's our friends. And back in the TV business, that was the audience that we also catered to. If we were selling a show to Bravo, we were creating something for her. If we were selling a show to Food Network, we were creating something for her. So not only do we know her, we respect her, we love her, and we want to give her great moments throughout the day that she can look forward to either by herself, with her friends, with her family. In this case, the added benefit is it's great for her health, her mental wellness, her longevity, her overall well-being. And so that part makes it that much more special.
I was going to say, what sort of things do you think when you describe your sort of avatar, if I can call it that, what is she interested in now, as in relation to probably 3 or 4 years ago when we were just sort of coming out of the pandemic?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. So our audience is, like in terms of the demo, 25, 44, it's like 70% of our audience. And it's almost exclusively women. She's got a lot of stuff going on. So she's got kids, probably. She's working. She's maybe in a hybrid situation or a work from home situation. Regardless, her life has been kind of, is very, very different in her work life. And she's more bandwidth stretched than ever, and she wants to exercise, she wants to work out, but a lot of times she feels like I have nothing more to give, and so it's on us.
Sounds like my wife.
Yeah. And me, and yeah, exactly right. So
Did she just get a dog too?
Yeah. Don't get a dog.
Speaking for a friend. Yeah.
So it's really, really difficult to show up and to work out. And I think, for our audience, one thing that's been really interesting is that during the pandemic, it was all about like live classes and they wanted that community-driven experience. What we found is like the behavior totally changed in a post-COVID world. So we actually just did away with our live programming. We're still, creating just as much content, but we're doing it off of a live schedule, which, provides a lot of different flexibility for us. But yeah, people are really like into on-demand content. They're interested in short form. So our short forms tends to be some of our most popular content. So if it's like a 10-minute stretch or a meditation or a breath work or sculpt arms, where I think one of the great things about COVID is that because people were working out at home and they were really embracing fitness and wellness, they probably learned like how to fit it into their day in a different way. And so people understand now that like you could do 3 10-minute workouts throughout the day and it's the same as doing a full workout. And so you can just fit it in whenever it makes sense for you. And so I think that's one of the nice things. And we're definitely seeing that in our content consumption. We're also seeing that in the beginning of the pandemic, everyone was like super into cardio, dance cardio, that sort of thing. Now we've gotten like so many converts into strength training, which like obviously we love cardio and obviously it's super important for heart health, but to see the adoption of strength training and lifting heavier weights, just like as a human, it makes me really excited because we know that, that's the kind of movement that's going to like really improve your health span. And also getting people to focus on body composition as opposed to weight was a really That's also been a really like key one. It goes hand in hand with strength training.
So you talked about the pandemic and the influence that it had. It also influenced the funding and the investment area quite a bit as well. At one point, we were just talking about this, but tell the audience about what your valuation was, what you raised, and what the capital market is like today.
Yeah, at the height of the pandemic, there was a boatload of capital flowing into this category, and rightfully so. We completed a Series A with incredible partners during the pandemic that remain incredible partners and work with us day in and day out each and every week. Has funding changed? Yeah. I think it's changed across the wellness category. I think it's changed across the fitness category specifically. But I think it's changed across direct consumer in every way, shape, and form, right? And are we out there fundraising right now? No. Do we have plans on it? No. We've been strange is the wrong word, intensely capital efficient since day one. So since our seed round, we've been really capital efficient. So from a runway perspective, the financial health of our company from a need for new capital is in a really good spot. But I think that that'll change at some point. I think that, as companies, level out, as companies figure out where the puck is going for them, how they are bringing new technologies, how they are working with new consumer behaviors, how they are incorporating new audience sets in a more special way, or healthcare in a more special way, I think that funding will return. It's not that it's not there, but it's just not there in the same droves as the connected fitness heyday, if you will, of the pandemic. And it was a heyday. It was a pull forward in the category. These things happen. It just seemed a little unusual based on a worldwide pandemic. That doesn't happen every day, but it was what it was, and here we are now.
I also think there's a change to the economic environment in the sense that we're not seeing as many companies IPO, and there's way fewer unicorns. So I think as a result of that, probably a lot of, I'm obviously not in the venture world, but I would imagine everyone is pulling back. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting time to see how all of this shakes out, especially with the businesses that were really big during COVID that raised these massive rounds. It's odd to me that there hasn't been more like mergers yet, but I would imagine we'll start to see that too.
Well, that's something, as I think is a good next question is, we have seen mergers happening in the industry. The need for women's health is still there. You've been around for 6 years, and we've barely made a dent in the need for like surfacing up the information and the content and the knowledge, the workout, the modalities, all of that. What do you think is next for Obey? Like, how do you think that you'll be able to scale and reach more people?
So because Mark mentioned in the beginning that we're pretty capital efficient, we always have been. And we've really looked to strategic partners to help us with our growth. And so partnerships have always been a massive, massive part of our growth strategy. So some of the things, just to give you context, that we've done, like we've partnered with Disney Plus on when they launch Cruella, or when they launch West Side Story, like Steven Spielberg had to like review this sizzle reel that we made. I was like, oh my God, is this real? Is this happening for us? But we do that in exchange for, they're getting us out into the world and they're talking about us in front of a lot of folks as well. We have great partnerships with American Express and for a time with Weight Watchers. So I think we're just going to continue leaning into those partnerships, as well as like really keeping our eyes open and understanding, what's happening with the different players, because, we are very, very women's focused. And I think there's like other women's focused companies that could be an interesting companies that we could potentially acquire. Or, if there's like a men's company that wants, a female equivalent because they're looking to go to healthcare and healthcare needs both. I think there's some interesting synergies that we could potentially, explore in the next couple of years, because it's going to...
What did Steven Spielberg think of your scissor reel, by the way?
He approved it.
He approved it.
I don't know what he said, but he approved it.
We got the sign off. So, two people from the entertainment business getting a Spielberg sign off. It's like, we're good.
Pretty cool. I was like, all right.
We can end it now.
Our work here is done.
The thing that's interesting, though, is back to the funding conversation. The broad category of femtech, and I say broad because it means so much from a product and services perspective. Funding is flowing into that world necessarily so in an incredible way. And I think that we do pair really nicely with a lot of the incredible services and new products that are out there for women's health, women's longevity, just general health awareness, right? So I'm interested to see where those partnerships take us over time, because it's a very pivotal moment, I think, in that sector, but specifically for that demographic of humans who have been underserved to date.
And final question, what about apps? Because you hear a lot of them are not necessarily doing well financially, and I guess there was a period where there was just so many new apps coming out. Like, how would you describe that space as someone sort of who's living and breathing it every day?
So I think that in fitness specifically, it has been all about libraries and media, media and these giant libraries that people didn't know how to, they didn't know how to necessarily figure out what they were gonna, what they wanted, or, there's a lot of frustration around the actual experience of picking a class or understanding what a brand is about. I think for us, one of the things that we did right away when, like I guess 21, 22, is we built machine learning into our platform. And so we're using the data that we have to be able to personalize the experience. And we do it with an algorithm that says, here's your onboarding experience, here's the classes you take, but here are people that are like you, so that we can surface stuff so there's like real discovery there. And we do that with our programs, and in a lot of different ways we're trying to use as much as we can of our data to make sure this experience is really streamlined. The other thing I think that we've done that others haven't yet is, we're really, I have ADHD, but I think most people do at this point. It's like everyone is attentional or attentionally challenged. And so, what's really important for this kind of brain is that things are very simple and easy to use. And so one thing that we've done is like our home experience is no longer just about content recommendations as it once was. Instead, it's like, here's today. Here are all the things that you need to do today. We get you in and out. We ask you only relevant data that we're actually going to use, which I think a lot of folks collect a lot of data and they don't do anything with it. But you give us information, and then we give you an output that reflects it. So here's an example. We built a feature called movement equations, which we're actually just about to launch. You guys can be the first to know.
Okay.
And essentially what it is one of the great things about fitness is it can change your sense of well-being, like in a given session, which there's really nothing. I can think of one other thing that can do that, but fitness is really like
there's illegal or legal,
There you go.
But no, it's true, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's very few natural things which can do that.
Totally. And so so what we've built is basically you track your mood in this very compelling, fun, consumer-centric experience, and then you take a class, whatever class that you want, and then you tell us how you felt after the fact. And then what we do with that information is we create a movement equation. I feel this, I do this, here's the outcome. And then the next time you feel that same way, so let's say I'm anxious, I do HIIT, and I feel calm. The next time you feel anxious, we're going to say the last time you felt anxious, you did HIIT and you felt calm. And so we can serve that up to support their executive function and help them choose the right class. And then we're using our algorithm to be able to recommend the best content for that user based on that class type.
That's pretty cool.
I've not heard that. Have you heard that before?
I have not. Can't wait to try it out.
And now,
You've
learned something as well,
Yeah.
It's effective, it's beautiful, it's easy to use, and from a cognitive behavioral perspective,
Awesome.
it makes sense.
Yeah.
It just makes sense.
Yeah. There's a
Have you been able to sort of
What?
protect that type of technology at all from, like, is it unique to you?
So I think it's difficult, like a lot of software, it's not much of it is patented
Right.
or like can be patented. I think what's unique for us is our access to our data, because we have a very large audience and it's all women. And they give us this information where, like, if you were just trying to do this stuff now, it'd be very difficult to aggregate enough data to be able to actually make good recommendations. And so I think I think the moat here is the data that we do have. And, a lot of folks are trying to do insights. Insights are only valuable if they're contextually relevant to you in that moment when you're receiving the insight. And you have to know how to package it in a way that's going to be easily understood. And so I think that's one thing that we've done really well. I think, a lot of folks are trying to like add generative AI into their experiences, and we've played with a lot of generative AI. And the problem with it is, like, you get paragraphs of data that no one's reading anymore. People want visual cues. It's like, it's different. And so I think one of the parts of this special sauce, which I'm sure folks will copy, but is, being able to create these really unique insights that tell you something and grab you. Like, we know that we're in an attention world, and like we have to grab people's attention. And so we create these experiences that are very attention grabbing to help you to engage and to check in even when you're not working out.
Very good. Well, thank you very much for your time,
Thank
guys.
you.
Very interesting.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on, Mark.
Awesome.
Appreciate it. Ashley, it's a pleasure.
Great to see you
Good
now.
stuff.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good stuff. Thank you. It's fun.
All right.